Right. Corners. Drag racing is cool, you know, I mean, we go down the straight, and of course those things are extremely powerful, and it's hard to keep them straight sometimes, but a straight is a straight, and when we're driving, we try to go as fast as we can on the straight. Where two cars are equally fast, it's the corners that can make all the difference when it comes to your lap times or your times outside here on the solar decks. Do you call it solar decks these days? Time attack, solar decks? Autocross. Alright, autocross, we'll use that. Yeah, so you've got to be able to get as fast the best possible time. That's the objective. Alright, so let's talk about corners. I don't know if James, you want to talk about it? Let me go. You want to do something, right? And if you're going to do it, alright, you want to. Let's start with this on 90 degree, and then we'll do it. Alright. Many times what I'm going to do is talk about some basic types of corners first, and discuss lines, and then we're going to talk about today's course, which David David did some drawings which I've flipped over for the time being, and we'll actually look at the specific corners here based on those diagrams. But right now, Jimmy's drawing, he's just copying one of these diagrams that I have inside the book here. And we're looking at a typical right angle corner. And if you were driving on the road, that red line, you keep left in front, that would be what you would do. Well, we all know you're supposed to stay on the left hand side, notwithstanding if it's a very clear road and there's nothing else on the track, or on the road, sorry, you can actually make use of more of the width of it. And that's the whole idea in racing. If you drive at on this line, you're driving within the speed limit, you'll do 30 miles an hour right through the corner. Right. Once you're on a racetrack or situation where you don't have to keep on the left lane, you can now take advantage of whatever the width of the road and the shape of the corners to determine the best place to actually drive the car. And we refer to these as lines. In the US, they sometimes call it a groove. I don't know if you ever heard people on US broadcasts, they say he's on the groove or he's not in the groove. But I think more of them are using the word line now, because it's become a bit more used everywhere. So we can do better than that. So again, let's see if we
different color. I know. Do you think better use these?
This one. Right. So what Jimmy is going to draw here is he's going to show you how you can improve it and use the width of the road right back to the geometric center, right, roughly like that. So again, in a case like that, now instead of having you're not on the road, you can go faster. If you were on a racetrack and you stayed on the first red line on the outside, you would never be as fast as if you were on the second one, right? What we're doing there is that we are actually using the width of the road to be able to make that corner a wider arc, so that the arc isn't as tight. And by doing a wider arc, it means you can actually go through there at a higher speed. So the way it's drawn here, we're going exactly again, let's say this is 45 degrees, that would be the geometrical apex. And you would enter, for example, at 60 miles an hour, you'd be at 60 here and you'd be at 60 here. And that would be great, because I mean, you're much faster than before. But we can actually do better than that. Right? So what could happen is that if we, assuming you have a straight following this corner, as I said, it's a 90-degree corner, so you would normally have a straight right after a 90-degree corner, otherwise it wouldn't be a 90-degree corner. You can improve on that by changing the apex and advancing it a bit. I'm saying advance, like the retard, advancing it this way. Put the apex somewhat further along the corner and altering your line so that you go in a bit deeper, turn towards that apex. And what's the purpose in that? The purpose in that is that you may have to slow the car down a little more on entry, because you can't, if we say that 60 miles an hour on the geometric apex would be the only speed you could do after which you run out of road. It means that here you actually have to slow the car a little bit, maybe to 55 miles an hour on the entry. You're going in a little deeper, right? So you will maintain a straight line a little longer, and aim toward a slightly advanced or retarded apex. Right? Instead of aiming for the geometrical apex of the corner, you can actually advance it or retard it again. Nothing wrong with it. At this point. And at this point though, it's going to straighten out the last bit of the turn. It's not going to be as sharp as the original turn would be. Right? The diagrams are not perfect, we are trying to draw them, but the concept is by slowing down slightly more, going in a little deeper and clipping the apex a bit later in the corner, you're able to put the power on earlier because it's a straighter line exit out here than it was before. And you're able to take advantage. Let's say you come out here at 65 miles an hour, you now start that straight 5 miles an hour faster than someone who is doing the perfect geometric corner. You're talking about the front wheel, rear wheel? Not really. I'll tell you what, that depends on. The line is always what you want to aim for. That is the fastest line of a moving object that you're going to be trying to increase the power, get the power on as fast as possible. What I know you're referring to, and I know that cars behave differently. In a front wheel drive car, for example, what you find is that you may have to turn the wheel in earlier, but you still try to follow that line. So by turning the wheel in earlier, you're getting that car to turn more than it might otherwise do if you just try to follow the line at a high speed. Does that make sense?
You may hear the expression slow in fast out. That's really what we're talking about.
Yeah, that's basically it. You actually sacrifice a little bit going in, but you take advantage of it as you exit the corner and you can come out quicker. So again, all-wheel drive car, four-wheel drive, whichever type of car you're driving, rear-wheel drive, there's a question of throttle balance and steering input that will be different in each type of car, but you still aim for a line that will give you that faster feel perfect. Everyone okay with that? Right. Well, we have a number of different component types just to give you an idea of what I don't know if you want to draw here. I'll let you know.
Can you see this?
Yeah. Kind of better eyes on us. Yeah, a hairpin, again, it's the same concept, of course, being a much sharper turn. When you retard that apex, you're retarding it even further again, and so you're going in even deeper to come back around and come out as fast as possible.
And you're taking it, more closer to the exit, you've clipped the apex. Down there.
What you find yourself, or a lot of people doing, if anyone is watching this morning, I took a drive this morning, and I did, on the hairpin there, is if you arrive too fast into the corner, with all good intentions of turning that apex, because of the understeering car, it just missed the apex entirely. You know? So again, it's the same line you're aiming for, but you're going to change your driving technique. I was actually going too quick, and therefore the front of the car was the part that broke loose. If I was in a rear-wheel drive car, I might have been sideways, you know. But basically the idea is to find that point where the car is as neutral as possible and where you can get that power on as quickly as you can. Right. Increasing radius corner. That's where it starts off tight and it opens up as you exit. Roughly you follow more or less the shape of the corner. There's no big thing in that. That one is pretty obvious. The reverse of it is really the interesting one, where you have a corner that starts fast and tightens up on you. You want to go in there as deep as possible on the outside and take a very late apex to come out and follow as clean and smooth a line as you can. We used to do these things at night at GT, and we had it all nicely.
We had a
slideshow
screen
and so forth.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry about the small diagrams, but as long as you get the concept.
The idea, but one of the basic ideas is that you use up all the road.
Yeah.
And the second thing is that you must clip the apex.
Yeah.
Okay? So you're going to use up all the road and you must clip the apex. And slow in faster.
You're going to find, of course, figure out where the apex should be. And again, we're going to talk a little bit about that relating to this track or the out here. But I will come to, because sometimes just figuring out where should that apex be. A lot of the times that comes down, by the way, to doing a few laps on the track. you start off with your basic theory where you think it should be, and it mightn't be perfect, it might be the right thing. You feel that, hello, I can't get the power on, or I'm having to hold off a bit longer than I would like before I could put that power down. I'm drifting, using up too much road on the exit, running out of road, maybe have to back off, and therefore you know how to adjust it. But you start off with some basic theory as we are going over here, and then you start to refine it as you get yourself familiar with the course and the car that you're driving. S-bend. We're going to have a few of them here, I guess. Yeah, right there. S-bends are interesting because you're actually dealing with a sequence of two corners, or could be more if you have a series of S's, but where you may have again, let's look at, I'm looking at two roughly right angular corners here on this diagram. And if you were taking them separately, you would take them like this, use up all the road. But imagine if now, at this point, the road turned left here. You'd be all on the wrong side of the road to line up for that exit. You really want to be over here somewhere. So in an S-bend situation, you would actually make the apex even later again. You try and be on this side of the road to come out of the left-hand portion of the S-bend and go down as straight as fast as possible. So you're going to actually sacrifice the first part of the corner. Hold up the little diagram here, where you go in as deep as you can. You're not using up all the road here because you want a nice line to exit here onto this foreign straight. And that's, again, applying the same theory, but just, again, everything comes down to starting on one side of the track, having an apex, and that is the key to everything. Because when you turn into a stair, into a corner, what are you aiming for? So it has to be something that determines what, once you know where you have determined the apex to be, for your car you are driving, it typically would be the same for everybody if it's the right apex. You have somewhere to aim for as you make that first turn. When you turn the steering wheel, you also want to be as smooth as possible. You don't want to have any of this kind of stuff if you can avoid it. That is the reverse of being smooth. Right? Have you all ever heard of being a smooth driver? Anyone have that term? Right? Being a smooth driver, you can actually see it. And sometimes when you do a very, very good lap, you may not feel good because you've done, the car is just going, it's like flowing, everything is flowing. And sometimes you feel, well, boy, that car can't be going very, very fast. And next thing you look at the stopwatch and it's the quickest time that you've done. So that's the idea too, that you must drive as smoothly as possible with the steering.
Let me ask.
Sure.
Let me ask one question. Would anyone like to answer? Which is the most important corner on any track? Huh? The most important corner on any track is the corner that leads to the longest straight. So you want to make sure you get that corner right. And by and large, what follows the corner is what will determine exactly where your apex is going to be. Okay, because if, for instance, there was another corner coming after this, then this whole thing may change, the apex may be a little, So it all depends on what follows the corner. But in general, the most important corner is the corner that leads to the longest straight, because that is where you want to be going fastest, to get the quickest time.
It is a place that you will make up the most time because of the length of that straight. And when you're setting up your car on a circuit, for a circuit, that's what you do too. You gear for those cars that you can actually change the gear ratios. You try to gear the car so that it gets the fastest speed at the end of that straight. So that last corner, or the corner, sorry, maybe the corner before the longest straight is very, very important. Here we don't have too many straights, but if I were to, it's not a circuit, so we are actually only going to do one lap and stop. But if it were a circuit, I would certainly want to make sure I came out of there as good as possible.
Going on the practice sessions, they're not going to stop in the box, they're going to get like 2 or 3 hot laps.
Okay, cool.
So
that would be definitely the corner. Another one that kind of comes to mind is the last one down there before that little back straight. And Those would be the two key corners that, in terms of getting speed down, like following straights, that you got to focus on.